Chem rats, hive mice, and some ghoulies, welcome to another thrilling edition of the unexplained, mysterious, and extraordinary, keeping you up way past fourth shift, since if you're awake, you can't hear what goes bump in the night. We are 665.66 UHMR Chem Rat Radio.
And don't worry your little hive humpies. If it does go bump, it's probably just a four-armed emperor. Come to you live tonight from Frank's Rucka Truck. Get your hands on all-you-can-eat buffet of rat meat chimichangas, still rated 5 out of 5 toilets, since that's about how many you'll need once you're done.
I am your compass through the cosmic twilight of the unknown, Goblin King, joined by my co-host Marky, always ready to unravel the enigmas that lie just beyond.
What it is, hoes.
The polar bear of the Frost Hollow himself, ChuckerFly, ready to scare reality back into shape if it gets too far out of line.
Boo.
And the forerunner of infinite knowledge, or maybe just infinite guesswork, it's Kev.
Boy, I tell you what, sometimes it's a little bit of both.
I tell you what.
I love that accent.
I tell you what.
Oh, God.
That was one of the first ones I taught myself, was the super redneck.
Super Southern.
Super south.
Fucking love it.
Well, I wish I had what do you call it? Like the dudes that live in not swamp, the Louisiana one, the Gambit.
Creole.
Bayou Creole.
Yeah. That's an accent I wish I knew how to do.
That's one I haven't quite gotten. I tried to teach myself.
I should. I got to watch more
tried
X-Men.
to learn. For me, I tried to use what was it? It's the HBO one with all the vampires. True Blood.
Yeah, True Blood. True Blood
that
does
takes
it.
place down there, and it's very
Justified.
much. Yeah, it's so close to Southern that I end up slipping to my Southern instead.
Yeah.
And it's hard to hold that one for me, and I can't even really nail it.
I think it's either the third or the fourth episode of Justified, or season. One of the seasons of Justified, he has to go down to Florida to deal with the family. And then since he goes down to Florida to deal with the family moves up to Kentucky and starts screwing around in his backyard. And it becomes, so there's a lot of Creole in that season.
Yeah.
All I know is you
Bayou accent.
You got onions and shrimp.
Yep.
Yeah, the
down
one that got
there
me
in that
was,
bayou, down in the water.
Oh, well, isn't that kind of like Forrest Gump too? Right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Same area.
Yeah.
Or Ricky Bobby.
Okay. Yeah, Ricky Bobby. That's right. With the big alligator.
He's a little more like Georgia. I thought.
Yeah, it's that Florida twang to it, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a little more deep south, a little less French, because that's what makes the Bayou accent different. Yeah, it's Creole. That's what makes it Creole, is the French influence.
Yeah.
Yeah, but X-Men is what kind of I was like, oh, that's a cool accent. Like,
I always forgot he had
dope.
that.
And Rogue, throwback to something that gave me the tinglies when I was a child. Rogue, the way they drew Rogue back in that Southern
hairstyle.
Yeah. Oh, dude, something about Rogue is just like, man.
Especially when she calling you Sugar.
Oh, Sugar. Oh, my God.
Oh, you just come on over here, Sugar.
My God.
Speaking of
that, wherever you want me.
Speaking of that hairstyle.
Hello.
There you go.
Fucking Cruella over here.
Hot.
For $3, $6, or $9, you can see what we're talking about. Join our Patreon today.
This is a 10 out of 10 on the crazy hot scale.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You can tell just by that sword, dude. Look at that sword.
Oh yeah.
You know she's crazy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it might be worth it, but you're definitely losing your junk after.
It's like what do you call it? Like a praying mantis? Praying mantis or a black widow?
Eat your head at the beginning.
Black Widow.
Welcome to Lorus Obscurus episode 14, Ghosts of the Pacific Northwest. Today we will peel back the folklore and paranormal experiences of Oregon and Washington State. While our podcast's main focus is on Warhammer and Warhammer 40k lore, we're captivated by the real-world mysteries of the paranormal and supernatural. Tales we can explore and use as inspiration for crafting our own stories that enhance our shared corner of the Warhammer 40k fictional universe.
We also have our own tales to share, experiences that left us questioning the boundaries of reality. But we're not alone. Our Patreon community has graciously shared their stories, adding the tapestry of strange encounters that shape our world. But first, we have another Ordo Obscurus file, written by Ryan himself, which unveils more of the hidden truths lurking within the shadows of our corner of the Warhammer 40k universe, the Carcosan sector.
Retrieving. Ordo Obscurus File AA0001. Box Cogitator Net Access. Ordo Obscurus. Inquisitorial Archive. Segmentum Obscurus. Atlas Subsector. Classification. Vermilion. File number. Omala Cossack AA0001. Ordo Xenos Vaco Alexandrov. Object class Heracticus non-Euclid. Disruption class intermediate risk.
Inquisitorial containment procedures. AA0001, known as the Black Lodge, was discovered on the planet of Incubus 3 in the Atlas subsector in 688.M37. AA001 proved to be impossible to destroy or move, resulting in an edict of the Inquisition to establish the Ordo Obscurus, which was founded to specifically deal with this singular phenomenon. AA0001 is a 460-meter square plot of cultivated grassland, within which the Black Lodge sits at the very center. This made initial containment procedures problematic, as Incubus 3 was too strategic of a world for a full quarantine or exterminatus action. An exclusion zone with the radius of 16,187 meters was established, which was then encased by a 15-meter tall ferrocrete rampart. Initially, this area was monitored by a small staff of inquisitorial agents and interrogators, pulled from all of the Ordos. Continued planetary development and the expansion of the Ordos Obscurus' duties, however, resulted in the foundation of the Ordo's first chamber militant. The 266th Achaean Regiment was requisitioned and reformed into the Ordos' first regiment of stormtroopers, Mobile Task Force Obscurus, known hereafter as the Shadowbreakers. With this expansion, the rank of High Savant was also established and a permanent inquisitorial asset was assigned to the Ordo Obscurus. The ramparts and facility around the exclusion zone continue to expand, becoming the Inquisitorial Palace of Incubus 3. AA0001 is now contained in a void-shielded adamantine walled box, measuring 4,200 meters long and 4,200 meters wide. The box extends 20 meters up to its ceiling and another 20 meters into the ground. Regardless of being cut off from the air, direct sunlight, and fresh water, the original 460 square meters of AA0001 are still lush grasslands. The room's exterior is a 70-meter buffer, which is made into a complex series of containment and monitoring stations, observation labs, and equipment, all specific to the Black Lodge at its center. No other artifacts are to be stored, transported through, or used within AA0001's containment box without the High Savant's explicit authorization. 2 void-rated Dreadnought-class blast doors permit entrance into AA0001's containment facility. These doors are guarded by Shadowbreakers, accompanied by aggro Razor Mastiffs at all times. A further detachment of Shadowbreakers and aggro Razor Mastiffs patrol the inner perimeter of the containment box. No less than 10 personnel must patrol AA0001 containment box at any given time. No more than 100 personnel, excluding Shadowbreakers, can be within the containment box for any purpose. Aggro Razor Mastiffs are bound to their handlers via neural link. If a handler dies or the bond is broken, a Mastiff will default to the next Shadowbreaker handler who is within range. This range is 3,000 meters. AA0001's containment box, however, disrupts neural link communication. If no single handler is left alive within the containment box, Mastiff's extermination protocols become active. The High Savant's neural link will always override any Mastiff protocols. Access is restricted to Vermilion-level, Rosette, or higher Inquisitors. Interrogators and other personnel require the explicit authorization of the High Savant and a Shadowbreaker escort.
Description brief. AA0001 is a 3-meter square log cabin, which sits at the exact center of a 4,060 square meter plot of land. The exterior of the cabin is covered in a psychoactive black tar-like substance, which induces intense psychotropic symptoms to those who come into contact with it. When under observation, a door manifests in the center of the face of AA0001 that is currently being viewed. This is true even if the cabin is viewed from more than one angle simultaneously. Even after full containment in an adamantine box, the grounds around the cabin have remained lush and fertile. While a day-night cycle, which matches that of the planet itself, also continues to affect AA0001, despite any technological modification or restrictions. The cabin at the center of AA0001 is referred to as the Black Lodge. Inside the lodge, a much larger space has been observed and documented. This space is approximately 8 meters wide by 6 meters deep, featuring a dark hardwood floor with a finely woven carpet measuring 6 meters by 4 meters positioned at its center. 4 worn leather chairs are positioned at each of the carpet's corners, diagonally facing the room center. The carpet, which is intricately crafted, bears Xenos symbols and patterns confirming its Xenos origin. An exterior door opened leads to the same interior wall, even if more than one is open at a time. If more than one operative enters from multiple doors at any time, they all still arrive at the same place, bumping into one another. The door opens roughly in the center of the 8-meter length of wall, with the fireplace dominating the space directly across from it. This fireplace provides warmth and illumination. The lodge's interior exists at a perfectly neutral temperature at all times. Bookcases line the rest of the available space of each wall, constructed of a dark hard wood with brass fittings. These are filled with an assortment of arcane tomes, antique technical manuals, powerful grimoires, and even classical literature. While all these books are legible in High Gothic and are not all human of origin, depressed among the bookshelves are several skulls of those human, demonic, Xenos, and bestial origins. Some can be traced back to an origin species, but many defy cataloging by even the most senior of Magos biologists. To date, a full catalog of the bookshelf's contents have been impossible, as the Lodge randomizes their contents at any time a shelf is directly observed. 4 paintings have been observed upon the walls: The Ghost's Pursuit by Ethan Hartley, AA0001-A, Whispering Shadows by Evangeline Harlow, AA0001-B, Lost Oasis by Isabella Karvova, AA0001-C, and Wings of Sacrifice by Aurelia Serafin, AA0001-D. Each, upon close examination, are not of the original paintings known in the Imperial records, but are made up of tiny detailed elements of the macabre. Such tiny flayed bodies making up the reds, tiny bones of the whites, screaming faces of the blacks, and so on. Auspex and Vox records from inside the lodge are unreliable, and servo skulls, servitors, cogitators fail within seconds of entering the interior space. Those inside the Black Lodge are immediately filled with an undeniable urge to study its contents. While relaxing within one of its chairs, a constant, soothing background static noise permeates the air and encourages a meditative state. However, those that stay within the lodge for more than a few minutes begin to suffer a psychoactive and psychotropic symptoms. Unless propped open, the Black Lodge's door will close on its own. Those inside suffer a wide range of physical, psychoactive, and psychological changes and defects.
Inquisitorial notes / transcript of events. To date, no fewer than 800 Ordo personnel, penal class operatives, and shadow breakers have entered the room and been subsequently lost inside. Only on 4 occasions has the subject been able to open the door from the inside and return. Penal class operative subject Z2 was lost inside AA0001 for 21 days. She emerged naked, showing signs of extreme physical mutation. Her skin had erupted with overlapping sections of an organic armor plating, much like bone. In each hand, she clutched melee weapons that appeared to be sculpted directly from adhuman bones, and wept a constant coat of some visceral matter. Subject Z2 was extremely enraged and aggressive, immediately attacking Ordo observation personnel and their Shadowbreaker security forces. She was terminated only when her killing spree triggered an aggro Razor Mastiff's extermination protocol. This event resulted in 67 fatalities. Autopsy findings revealed severe mutation across all terrestrial organs, along with the addition of a second heart and a second set of lungs, indicating profound physiological alterations had occurred. Interrogator Subject A86 and his assistant, Ordo Personnel Subject O87, managed to force the door open after only a few seconds. Subjects were immediately separated and isolated by the High Savant's orders. Subject A86 exhibited self-destructive behavior during his debriefing, first scratching the skin of his arms raw before tearing out his own eyes with the use of a picked stylus. Subject A86 was then detained in an isolation ward for further observation, where he proceeded to gnaw off his own tongue and drown, choking on his own blood. Subject O87 calmly dictated the events of Subject A86's actions at a measured 15-second delay, up until Subject A86's death. This took place over the course of 3 days, while Subject O87 was kept in an interrogation module separated. Subject O87 never paused, drank water, or accepted food during this time, and upon Subject A86's violent death, simply stopped talking. Subject O87 survived in isolation without eating or drinking for 18 solar months before he was executed by firing squad. Rumors persist that Subject O87 has been observed continuing their duties in AA0001's containment box, but disappeared if approached or spoken to. Subject A103 spent 211 days locked in the Black Lodge, before calmly exiting when the door opened on its own. Subject A103, hereby identified as Interrogator
Redacted,
spent 24 months under observation and isolation, undergoing 1,034 interviews by senior inquisitors and the High Savant. Interrogator
Redacted,
subsequently cleared for duty and promoted to the rank of Inquisitor by merit of his observations and records of AA0001. In 345.965.M40, his investigations into the anomaly designated BS0231 took him deep into the Troxin system. His last report came on 988.004.M41, when he recorded that his rosette was on special condition. Current Ordo records mark Inquisitor
Redacted
with rogue status.
Special addendum, High Savant investigation notation.
The mutations and violent behavior exhibited by Subject Z2 highlight the insidious influence of the Black Lodge. The drastic psychological changes, including the additional heart and lungs, underscore the Lodge's ability to reshape the human form. Further study and analysis required to understand the mechanism behind these transformations and potential ramifications for future encounters is required. Furthermore, Subject A86's connection with Subject O87 and subsequent self-inflicted mutilation raises concerns about the psychic and psychological impact of exposure to the Lodge. While these mark severe cases, AA0001 has the effect on any who enter it, the least of which is a lust for the secret texts and what they may contain. Notably, none of the knowledge seen within seems to be able to be recorded or copied, except by the most archaic of methods. Dictation to a manual scribe sat outside the lodge. While knowledge attained this way has proven invaluable in rare cases, most of it is too archaic, obscure, or occult in nature to be readily usable. However, some of the texts hint at the existence of SDC data within the lodge's collection, making AA0001 at the same time extremely valuable and potential while remaining extremely worthless, if not adversely costly to the Ordo's existence. In conclusion, the Black Lodge's influence is evident in its severe mutation, physical alteration, psychological and behavioral consequences associated with those who observe and work with it. While not all are as extreme as the cases that we have listed, several more can be found in the further addendums below. Efforts to understand and contain the Black Lodge's anomalous properties remain a priority for the Inquisition. It is essential to gather additional data on the Lodge's influence, study its effects on the human form and psyche, and to devise strategies for mitigating its threats. A specialist division of Mobile Task Force Obscurus, also known as the Shadowbreakers, is to be drafted from among the more senior operatives. They are to be tasked with the vigilant monitoring and hunting down of individuals who have encountered the Lodge, as their experiences may have lingering effects that can pose risk to the Imperium at large.
End log. CogitatorNet 377.992.M41 Inquisitorial Archive Segmentum Obscurus Atlas Subsector Vox Cogitator Net Access Terminated.
Well, that was giving me the willies. That was dope, Ryan. I like that.
Creepy.
It was
Thank
almost
you.
like a chaos infected STC that like transformed into this house. That's what I kind of picked up towards the end. I like that. That's really sick.
I like that too. That's not really what I was just going for creepy, but I like that interpretation.
Yeah, that's just kind of what I was like. Oh, it kind of, because obviously when you read things, you kind of interpret them or kind of have your own, what do you call it, like mind lore
visualization.
Yeah, your own visualization of it. Your head canon, I guess you would say, right? Like my head canon of it is like, oh, it's like a lost STC that was infected by chaos, and possibly like old
Library
research
STC.
library, yeah, that was attached to it, and now it's all malformed and chaosy, and
Nobody knows how to use it.
yeah, I like that.
And they can't destroy it, and they can't destroy the entire planet, so they just have to build a palace around it.
Right. I like the whole how it was walled off, essentially, like this huge ass like metal box, essentially, that just
build the box around the shit you can't move so that you can protect it. Makes sense though.
And then shoot anybody that comes near it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
My property.
I originally... Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say it's almost like a dark forest kind of feel, right? So like, you have like the witch, or like the Hansel and Gretel.
It's that creepy cabin you walk into and find in a forest, and you're like, "There's no roads or anything here. How did this get here?"
You're just like,
why the fuck does this just exist?
Exactly.
Like, we just showed up with the expedition fleet. There's no humans here. Why is this here?
It's an STC that was chaos corrupted into black tar heroin.
Makes you want to go to sleep.
And Incubus 3 was obviously named after Incubog Crane.
I like that.
So there's the link there. And then the Ikean, I was trying to figure out what Incubus would shorten to, and I came to the Ikean regiments, and I was like, okay, I like it. It's all right.
Yeah, I like it.
Sometimes they get assembled wrong.
Sometimes.
Every once in a while, the guardsman is missing a couple of pegs or maybe a hex bolt or two.
Yeah. Yeah, but, you just call them up and they'll ship you out that missing piece.
They'll just ship you out that missing piece.
Not to sidetrack, but goddamn IKEA furniture, dude. Two beds. This one time, my mom
first horror story of the night.
Yeah, right. My mom bought 2 IKEA beds, and it took me an entire Sunday to put both of them together.
Oh yeah,
it was like, my God.
I had a friend move into a new apartment at one point, and she like got overwhelmed with building all the furniture, and I made a meme for I could try to find it. It's lost somewhere in the archives of Facebook, but it was the picture of Liam Neeson talking to his daughter on the phone in Taken, but I had changed the text so it said, "Life has given me a particular set of skills. I will come to your house, I will find your furniture, and I will build it."
Even
That's a good
IKEA. And it's like, you can't use power tools on it.
Yeah,
make
you
it
can.
faster, because then it breaks.
No. You just have to have trigger discipline with that screw gun.
Trigger discipline.
Come
on, Kevin.
Do you not have a variable speed trigger on your power drill?
You can't just scream suppressing fire and hold it down? What?
Yes, that's how that happens. It's like, hey,
you put it on 1 because it's got a variable power setting like any fucking modern drill does. You put it on 1 and you just pull the trigger halfway in instead of all the way in, and it just goes real slow. It's fantastic.
It's like what is it, Drogo from Rocky? If he dies, he dies, and then you pull the trigger, you let it run.
That's right.
Until it's tight.
It's
is that Rocky
wall
2?
Or nothing at all.
Is that Rocky 2 or 3? Me and the wife had this argument the other day.
You are asking the right age range, but
damn,
I don't remember.
I feel like it's Rocky 2. I feel
this is a 40K podcast, sir, not a 80s movie.
please take your random banter somewhere else.
So originally I made them aggro flail mastiffs, and then I decided that I liked the idea of, instead of being like flail, like cyber flailed, they were cyber razored. So they're just like covered in razor blades.
Can't touch them.
That sounds painful as fuck.
It'd be now, and of course, because it's, you know, the thing that happens when you write fiction and you develop stuff. I was totally thinking of like, how do I get my hands on the arbiter side of the kill team box? I can't remember what they're called. You just told me like yesterday too. Not the executioner, the exaction squad.
Extraction?
No, they're not. They're like exotation or something.
It's talking about that kill
fancy. Team? Yeah, it's some fancier way of saying extraction.
Damn it, what is it? The Executor squad or something?
Yeah, but basically the Arbites squad, and then getting a couple of extra mastiffs and then painting them up like shadow breakers.
That would be dope. It reminds me of what the hell was it? Zoids. Some of those mastiffs are like Liger Zero.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, 100%. Like they just rampage and rip you apart.
Yeah.
And Kev, what you should do is you should find that squad and you should paint them up in whatever the Shadowbreaker colors are, and you should throw them into your Rogue Trader army.
The Exaction squad.
That'd be cool.
But they're following the Rogue Trader around for some reason. Every once in a while, the Rogue Trader finds an artifact, and she like highly prizes it and places it in her personal library in the museum. And then like 6 weeks later, it's just gone.
God damn it.
She gets everybody together to yell at them, and the Shadowbreakers just don't, like, their face doesn't change. Like, they don't show any emotion.
Dude, I need a soundboard.
Don't know what you're talking about, boss.
It wasn't us.
I need a soundboard of Judge Dredd, dude. I am
I watched something earlier that was it was a comedian, and they were doing like when Hollywood runs out of ideas and keeps making the same movie, and they were making fun of Fast and the Furious 29 or whatever the heck's coming out now.
Fucking ridiculous.
And like there's a helicopter getting away, and the bad guy's like, ha ha ha, you can't get me, Toretto. You can't defy gravity. And then it goes back to like the guy dressed up as Dominic Toretto in the car, and he goes, all I need is gnaws and and then the car like jumps up and hits the helicopter, and then like the next time it's like, we're inside this fortified building, all I need is a crash garden. And then it's like 7 cars crashing through a building.
Dude, it's like it's almost like what was it, Speed Racer? Good. Pushes the button, and it's like wings shift out the side of his Challenger.
Right? It's all over.
It's pretty much Mask now. The old cartoon Mask.
Pushes a button, fucking dynamite shows up on the front of his Charger.
God. Jesus, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh man, Speed Racer.
Good old Speed Racer. Well, continuing with the theme that we've done for the last couple of Lorus Obscuruses, we are looking at the ghosts of the Pacific Northwest. Originally, we kind of tried to focus in a lot on the forests of the Pacific Northwest, but there's just kind of a lot of little cool stuff that we wanted to touch on and bring up. Some of these are going to be ghost sightings. Some of these are going to be paranormal sightings. There's a lot of crossover when it comes to the Pacific Northwest. So
I just read the first sentence and I'm already like, fuck this.
And like, obviously, all of these we could get super deep into, but we're giving you guys a sampling of the folklore that exists. Again, it kind of just puts all of those little kernels and minds out there. And I know, Chuck, you got a story, I think, of like a cult or something up in the area, right? You want to talk about?
Oh, yeah, something that I've something one of my kids showed me, and I was like, yeah, no thanks.
So we'll definitely dig into some spooky dookies. First up, we have the Bandaged Man of Cannon Beach, which is located in Oregon. Cannon Beach is said to be haunted by the spirit of a man who was severely injured in a car accident. According to the legend, the man was wrapped in bandages, and his ghost now appears to unsuspecting motorists and hikers in the area. Witnesses have reported seeing a figure wrapped in bandages or experiencing feelings of unease and being watched. For those of you who don't know, Cannon Beach is the beach that is featured in The Goonies.
I wonder if any of them had sightings during the filming.
Yeah, I heard some like allegorical stories about some of the weird stuff that happened on set. My wife actually knows a lot about The Goonies and the area and Cannon Beach and a bunch of stuff. So I might have to at some point dig out some of those ghost stories and see if she has any like little kernels that I can track down and bring up in a future Lorus Obscurus. So next up, we have the Lady of Mount St. Helens. Mount St. Helens, known for its volcanic eruption in the 1980s, has had its share of ghostly stories. One legend tells of a lady in white who haunts the vicinity of Spirit Lake. It is said that she was a pioneer woman who perished during an eruption and now appears to warn visitors of impending danger. Some hikers and climbers claim to have seen her apparition or heard her warnings. There's also some stories around her being sighted a lot right before the eruption of Mount St. Helens.
Dude, miss me with that shit. I don't need no warning, lady. Move along.
Move along. You don't want to know if the volcano is going to erupt and you're in the way?
Miss me with that shit. No, I don't need no apparition telling me that I can see the volcano, I can hear the earthquakes or feel them. It's I'm good.
Hey man,
even if she's reaching out to give
I'm
you a
sure
pat.
that's what Pompeii thought. They didn't have a word for volcano, but they probably were like, man, this mountain has been here. It's sitting still. It's probably safe, right? You know, and if it starts acting up, we can just run away.
So are all mountains volcanoes?
No. Mountains are formed by a couple of different processes that basically the tectonic plates meeting each other.
It's a car accident between rocks, essentially.
Yeah. But
that's the dumbest version of it.
So they're like skin tags and volcanoes are more like pimples?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a very good analogy. I'm impressed.
Yeah, you know, I get one every now and then.
I know, right? You're gonna roll 6 eventually.
Mountains are formed when a plate goes over another plate or two plates hit each other, and a volcano is formed when a plate scrapes out from underneath another plate and essentially like creates pockets of magma. It's a super simplistic.
It oozes out and
hot
stuff
liquid
like that.
magma.
Molten hot magma.
But that's not the only type. There are plenty of areas on our planet that are in fact volcanoes that don't look like mountains, and there are plenty of things that look like volcanoes that aren't volcanoes. So
they didn't
it's a little
think
more
Pompeii
complicated.
was a mountain. They thought it was, or they didn't know Pompeii was.
Pompeii is so old that they didn't actually know about volcanoes yet.
Oh.
And so there was no word in their language even for volcano until it happened.
So somebody had to be the first.
Somebody had to be the first people to be close
be
enough. Like, you had to be close enough to see, but not enough that you also got wrecked. And the problem was because tribes are very small, that there probably were people, you know, cavemen or whatever, Neanderthals that got wrecked by volcanoes before that, but it wrecked them and everybody they knew. You know,
yeah, the story didn't travel.
So there had to be enough people to witness it to then spread it for it to even become knowledge that it could happen.
And there's sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you guys have seen Dante's Peak.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched that when I was like 12 years old.
Same. I was in I was like 5th grade.
I was like, oh dear God.
It was
that grandma, dude.
I know, right? I know.
Like,
I didn't want to get in the hot springs because of that.
Exactly. Ever since then, dude, I was like, I never want to be near a volcano ever. Have you seen Dante's Peak, Chuck?
No,
dude.
Yeah. What?
Wait, Chuck.
What?
Did you see?
Chuck, please
volcano?
Go watch Dante's Peak. It's great.
Hold on. I have a serious question. Chuck, did you see volcano with the L and the A capitalized because it was a volcano in LA?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No.
Was that the one with Pierce Brosnan in it or whatever?
No, Dante's Peak is the one with Pierce. But they came out like at the same time.
Yeah, okay. For some reason I thought Pierce Brosnan was in Volcano LA also.
Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee.
Oh, okay, that's what it is.
Well, it's because they came out within like a couple of weeks of each other.
Yeah, it was the duality, the Hollywood duality. I actually saw a little YouTube thing that apparently that's like an actual confirmed thing, and that's been going on forever.
Yeah, it happens every couple of seasons. Two movies that are the same.
Part I've really seen of it
it's
is
almost
like
every year these days.
The volcano one. Tommy Lee's like, oh man, we have to stop the magma flow. Put stuff in the way; it'll divert it.
Yeah, well, let's put a bunch of aluminum subway cars in the way.
It ain't a river, buddy.
Because that shit ain't gonna melt.
No.
Yeah, that was the first.
Fire engines block magma.
The fire engine spraying water at it was a half decent idea.
I mean, No.
Because if you can cool it off, well, you cool it off until it builds a solid wall, and it has to overflow itself. And if you can cool it off there, eventually you can kind of create.
Yeah.
I absolutely love Chuck.
I was busy doing other things when you watched that movie.
I was busy doing other things.
It's a classic, Chuck.
That's his like classic get out of jail free now. I was busy doing other things.
He's like, I was busy, I don't know, getting married and having a family.
Yeah.
No, not yet. I was busy doing other adult things.
All right. So next up, we have the ghost lights of Estacada. Estacada? I'm going with that. Estacada.
Sounds like a fancy burrito.
Is that word?
I don't know.
Enchilada?
Enchilada?
Estacada. It's got to be Estacada. I guarantee you it's not, because I'm putting the Southern California pronunciation on what obviously looks like a Hispanic word, but it's in Oregon, so it's probably like a native word, and it's probably like pronounced like completely different. All right. The ghost lights of Estacada. Estacada, a town in Oregon, is said to be haunted by ghost lights. These mysterious lights are reported to appear in the forests surrounding the area, floating or dancing through the trees. Witnesses have described them as glowing orbs or lantern-like objects that move without any apparent source. The origin of these lights remains a mystery, and they continue to intrigue locals and paranormal enthusiasts. So both the last two stories, the Lady of Mount St. Helens and the ghost lights, these are both very, very prominent, kind of exist everywhere ghost stories. The Lady in White, we had an entire episode on Ladies in White. Ladies in White are kind of, every town has one. Orbs, ghost lights, specs in photography, all that says spectral photography, all that stuff is very, very common. Will o' the, from a Dungeons and Dragons perspective, the monster Will o' the Wisp, or just from a fantasy perspective, the monster Will o' the Wisp is the same sort of thing. Ghost lights, even in Warhammer Age of Sigmar and Warhammer the Old World, there are ghost lights. In Age of Sigmar, they're called the Harrow Geist. Why can I not remember the faction's name?
I know what you're talking about. They're the ghosts.
Yeah. the ghosty people.
The Night Haunts?
Night Haunts. Thank you. The Night Haunt faction in lore talks a lot about the Night Haunts manifest as ghost lights, and they kind of entice people into the forest and then they murder them. Ghost lights are pretty big. Yeah. That's how they add you. That's how they add you to their growing army. And they don't murder you by they can murder you by killing you, but a lot of times they just make you feel incredibly remorseful and sorrowful, like depressed, and then you kill yourself and then you join them.
Damn, that's dark.
Ooh,
okay.
Man,
I thought Will o' the Wisp were good, because that's the whole thing where like they try to lead you out of like danger or the forest.
That's the problem. Is sometimes there's good ones and sometimes there's bad ones, just like fairies. Well, fairies are mostly bad unless you go Disney.
Fairies?
Pixies.
As in, fairies. I thought he said berries, as I was like, yeah, a lot of them will make you sick and you'll die. Now I got you. Some of them will make you hallucinate. Some of them are good for you.
Yeah, Tom had a gnarly
badger,
Lady in White story. What was
he
it?
did.
I think it was his brother or his cousin,
his
or
brother
something like
and
that.
the gal on the beach.
Yeah, the one in Mexico. That was
that was
a Lorus Obscurus episode.
I think that's our second or third Lorus Obscurus episode.
Yeah, that one.
You guys want to head on back and check that out?
Yeah, the white lady on the beach. I was like, yeah, fuck that. Ain't going to Mexico anymore.
Marky's not going to Mexico. He's not going anywhere near volcanoes.
That's right. I'm happy right here in my little home.
Next up, we have the Headless Horseman of Snoqualmie Valley. Being from Washington, I should know that word. The Headless Horseman of Snoqualmie Valley. In the forest around Snoqualmie Valley, Washington, there have been tales of a headless horseman haunting the area. The legend tells of a horseman who was decapitated during a logging accident and now roams the forest in search of his lost head. Sightings of a headless figure riding a horse have been reported, adding an eerie element to the region's folklore. And headless horsemen are another big thing, and there's two reasons, but yeah, there's two primary reasons why headless horsemen kind of come up again and again and again. The first one is it was pretty horrifying and pretty regular or not regular, but like it wasn't uncommon for soldiers to lose their heads in combat, whether if it was from like a sword blow or a lucky cannon shot or something else. And then the second reason that headless figures and headless horsemen are relatively common is because when bandits or pirates or anybody was gibbeted, they would attach you or like tie you to a stake inside the gibbet. So when your legs and arms gave out and you couldn't hold yourself up anymore, you would like hang on this thing. And then the next part that happens is when you die, your head separates from your body and your body would just kind of like slump to the ground and the head would fall out of the gibbet and get lost. So a lot of times when they took these bodies down to bury them, of these like, you know, highwaymen and raiders and stuff, their heads couldn't be found anymore.
Oh, goody. Yeah. Sleepy Hollow was a very gnarly visual of headlessness.
That was one of, in my opinion, Tim Burton's better.
Yeah, 100%, dude. Like just the
I've actually always been a huge fan of the old cartoon. I love the old cartoon.
Say, you don't like the cartoon? Ichabod.
Oh, I love it. Yeah,
Ichabod Crane.
But the practical effects in the Sleepy Hollow movie
were so good.
Yeah, like they gave you that feeling of
and honestly, until I learned that was Tim Burton, I didn't know that it was specifically Tim Burton because it didn't just scream. It didn't scream Nightmare Before Christmas, like everything from Nightmare Before Christmas and on.
Oh, dude, that's right. The Headless Horseman was I'll stab you in the face with the soldering iron guy.
Yeah.
Angelina Jolie's dad, right?
No.
Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken.
Who's Angelina Jolie's dad? I always thought.
No, that's I can't think.
He's an actor though, right?
Yeah, I can't think of the movies he's been in, but yeah.
Is it a similar guy?
Similar looking. Yeah.
Christopher Walken, Joe Dirt, right? Stab you in the face with a soldering iron.
Yeah, Christopher Walken is the guy who says, "I'll stab you in the face with a soldering iron." Yes.
Okay. Oh, dude, you guys have all seen Joe Dirt, right?
Yeah, but it's been a while.
Dear Tay. You're a little fancy with it. Dude,
there it is, the original.
Me and my buddy used to quote Joe Dirt all the time. I gotta watch it again. I gotta show it to my daughter. Oh no, I can't do that.
You got a couple more years before you can show it to your kid.
It's almost there. Yeah. You're close.
Right. So the haunt.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, how are you going to explain I'm your sister to your daughter?
Yeah, I can't do that.
Don't show her Harold and Kumar yet either. She's got like another 5 years easily.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Especially the second one. The first one you could probably get away with, but don't show her the second one.
Probably keep her off Cheech and Chong for a little while, too. Just to make sure.
The haunted Hoh Rainforest. The Hoh Rainforest, located in the Olympic National Park, is known for its lush.
Where is
Olympic?
Where is it so I know where to avoid it?
The Hoh Rainforest. That's disgusting. Where?
Where should I never, ever, ever go at night without clothes on?
The Hoh Rainforest, which is located in the Olympic National Park, is known for its lush beauty and serene atmosphere. However, some visitors have reported eerie experiences and a sense of being watched or followed while exploring in the forest. Disembodied voices, whispers, and unexplained footsteps have been reported by hikers in this haunting, beautiful wilderness. I'm going to add to this because I actually know of another story, and I want to say it's a story that I came across. It's one of those, like, this is a true story things that I came across on the internet. It was a biker, like a pedal biker, a distance mountain biker. That's what I'm looking for. Those are the words I wanted.
Words that can't be confused.
Who went into the Hoh Rainforest one weekend or 1 week. He was doing like a week-long bike ride, and he was in a mountain bike, and he had one of those like carry behind bike trailers with all of his gear and everything in it. He disappeared. Like no one could find him for like months. And eventually they found his bike no one found him for months, but initially in investigating his disappearance, like a week or so after he had failed to check in, they found his bike and the camper, some of his gear scattered about, but his backpack and like essential survival supplies were missing. And there were arrows, like from a bow and arrow, embedded around his bike at a downward angle in the ground.
Huh.
When they found him, his body was on top of a mountain. The food in his pack had been eaten, and his mountain biking gun, had been fired twice. But there was no damage to him, and there was no damage to anything else. And it was one of those, he may have shot himself, but the body's been too damaged by the elements for us to tell, because it had been several months. But the two theories for the longest time had been, or the official theory is that he climbed to the top of the mountain and committed suicide. But the holes that have always kind of been poked in it is
the arrows.
What was up with the arrows, and why would he have taken his survival gear and food up to the top of a mountain
if he was going to kill himself?
Because he was running from Bigfoot.
Yep, that's actually one of the theories. He was running from Bigfoot.
Running from Bigfoot? What do you think the arrows were?
I think he was ambushed by some cult or,
by some hill people.
Now, what kind of arrows?
Speaking,
I'm assuming
it's arrows.
Yeah, I'm assuming it doesn't talk about the type of arrows. We talking.
We're all were they broadhead, pointy things? Were they sticks with rocks on the end of them?
Yeah.
They were modern arrows, and there was a modern bow and modern arrows found between his body and the bike.
Man, this ain't the whole forest that I was promised.
No,
right?
You'll get stuck, just not with the things you want to get stuck with.
Right? Anything's a dildo if you're brave enough.
All right, so speaking of being chased down and murdered by a cult at the top of a mountain, Chuck, you got a cult for us before we jump into supernatural sightings in the Pacific Northwest?
So, my oldest son at one point wanted to do the Pacific Crest Trail. So he had talked about it for a while, and that goes from, I guess, the U.S.-Mexico border all the way up to through Canada or up to Alaska or something. It's a long trail to do it. You have to be in contact with people to have deliveries for you. So he still does research on it, and he's coming to find out. We watched this whole documentary on someone that was doing the trail. So the area we're talking about, tonight, up in the Oregon, Washington area, this guy gets up there, and this trail sometimes is really wide, and sometimes it's like a trail like you see on TV or you think about in your head. It's just enough for a person to walk through. Well, this guy's going along, and he'd been doing his camping and putting his food up high and everything like he's supposed to, and he comes to this bend in the trail where it gets a little bit wider, and there's just two people wearing all white. And like most people, you see people on the trail and you wave, oh, hey, you keep going on your way or whatever. So as he goes by these people, he waves and says hi, and they don't even react. So when night came, he thought that was really weird. They're not even reacting. They have no gear. They're just sitting here. So the first night he camps after he sees these people, and I guess, and I had to talk to my son about this. I don't understand why somebody goes so far off the trail to camp. I would figure you'd be oh, I'm 5 feet off the trail. I can see the trail. I'm going to camp. I guess most people
go off the trail because there's the trail comes close to some sketchy towns.
Well, this is in the middle of nowhere where this guy's camping.
Right. So, but so just context, there's sketchy settlements or whatever that you want to say. Cause there's places on the trail that are removed enough from any real city or any real town or whatever that or any real big, that they're good places to trade drugs and stuff.
Okay.
So a lot of gang shit will happen out near or on the trail. So a lot of people that hike it go off the trail considerably to camp. The other reason they do it is because bears specifically know that if they follow the trail, they can get easy food.
Okay. So this guy, the first night, is doing that, and he has his food up high and everything, and according to him, he hears some motion and stuff at night, but didn't think anything of it because, I'm in a forest. You hear noises. He gets out in the morning, and his pack of food is gone. And all he can find around his camp is no bear tracks, but people footprints. Hiking boots and shoes.
Nope, the fuck out of there.
So he goes on his way. He still had stuff. He supposedly get new supplies when he got somewhere. He gets his new supplies. And it's 3 or 4 nights later, he hears the noises again, but this time he's laying there in his tent, and he had put he'd put branches and debris around his campsite so he could really hear somebody walking, and he could hear the people walking, and then he could hear low murmuring. He gets up, fights the prince again, keeps going on his way, and I guess he's like supposedly like way out there, like near Mount St. Helen, because I think it goes near there. He keeps hiking. And gets to the point where he turns back and he can see, he's like up on a ridge and he can see way back behind him, and he hasn't seen anybody in a whole day. He sees two figures in white back behind where he's been already. So it freaks him out. The next night, he sets everything up again the same way. Well, that's the night where it all happens. He hears all the people out there and he sees lights this time. He ends up freaking out, busting out of his tent. And there was about 10 people outside of his tent, all in white. And he took off running. He ends up hiding in the forest somewhere. Next day, he gets down the trail. He gets into the town. And he reports everything that's going on. The rangers tell him, yeah, we've heard of this. Where were you? Yeah, it's really weird about the food disappearing. But yeah, we've had reports of food disappearing, people being encircled, and yeah, so you gonna keep going on the trail or what? And that's when he decided to like get on a Greyhound and go home.
What is
I think we could do an entire episode on like people who have both the Appalachian Trail and the Pacific Coast Trail, how
they just disappear. And like you were saying, Ryan, like I don't know how much people have actually driven around our nation, but there are places where it's like my dad used to tell me, if you go anywhere out of, what's considered, finger quotes, massive civilization, you just stay on the road. You go down the side roads. You don't do nothing because, one, you don't know what kind of private property it is, if there's mines or, we've all talked about Indian reservations, how like they can be creepy, but it's not just that. There are people that live off the grid that are actually psychopaths, and that's why I think a lot of people go missing.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
What is that one movie? I want to say it's like The Forest or something. Well, we talked about it before, probably in
The Ritual.
Is it The Ritual, where it's a old like Norse like demon or monster? It's like
hunting.
It's like this big moose thing with the like naked skull for a head or something.
That's a Wendigo.
Are you talking about Horns, the movie about the Wendigo?
I feel like it was The Ritual. The dude ends up like running out of the forest, and the thing's like right behind him. It like kills pretty much. It's like him and his 4 friends, and like they all want to go camping.
The Ritual.
Okay, yeah. That movie was gnarly. Reminds me of that.
Yeah, it's like, forests and stuff like...
Oh, yeah, you're right. It is a giant, crazy, Wendigo-looking creature in The Ritual. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's like the shot where like he shoots it and it does nothing, and then it looks directly at him, and he's like, oh, fuck.
Oops.
that didn't work.
Yeah, it's again, like Rug and I were talking about some stuff earlier today, too, because about this podcast, and it's like... You read and hear legends, and my belief is there's a reason why that legend is there.
Is that its dick?
Oh,
what the hell was it?
No, it's like its organs hands hanging out of its stomach.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, dude, it's got like a little schlong there that just kind of carries around with it.
Just reach out there and get you.
Yeah,
it's a really creepy looking monster. It's got that body horror thing going on. Yeah,
definitely.
It's got like. So its head is
like a half body, half antler,
like a person,
humanoid,
like a rabbit.
Yeah,
it's like a rabbit head.
It looks like a turkey slapped on a.
Yeah, it's like, so those are like legs with like claws on it, and then there's the arms hanging down, and then it's got its mouth, and it's got 2 other arms, and then in its like stomach, roughly where like its genitalia would kind of be, there are 2 other arms hanging out.
New meaning to reach around.
It's got like mandible arms kind of thing.
Yeah,
going
it's
on.
creepy the fuck looking, dude. I'd love to find this as a 3D print.
Yeah, but again, like back to the whole cult thing, it's like you don't know what's out there.
Yeah, this was very much like the Ritual movie, because I believe there's cultists in the movie, Ryan. I don't know if you recall.
Yeah, I believe there's something to do with it, or they think there's a cult or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Ritual is a crazy good movie.
I enjoyed that one. Maybe I'll show my daughter that one. That one I think is friendly.
I mean, if you don't want her to sleep.
Yeah, she's seen scary movies. She's seen It and Conjuring and Nun and Annabelle.
Oh, did you see the trailer for the Nun 2?
I have not. I'm just gonna wait for it to come out, dude.
There's a secret. I gotta tell you this one thing. There's this scene where like there's two girls like up in a loft, and this one girl like leans forward and sees
Two girls,
the nun
one
down
loft.
below, and then she leans back, and the little girl goes, "What's she doing?" And the older girl's like, "She's just standing there, staring at us and not moving." And as soon as she finishes talking, the nun's hands grab the sides of her face, and then it goes to like that's the end of the trailer. And I was like, "That's a good trailer,
Dude." The design,
that 30 seconds got me.
the design of the nun is so fucking creepy, dude. Like it's just
Phallic or whatever the actual demon's name is.
Yeah, it's like Marilyn Manson in a nun costume. It's not
shit.
It's pretty,
right?
yeah.
Oh fuck! It's Bigfoot. For $369, you can see Bigfoot.
So up next, and as we move into the paranormal side of the Pacific Northwest, we have Bigfoot/Sasquatch sightings. Sasquatch and Bigfoot got 3 episodes at the beginning of our American cryptids coverage, which was just before we got into haunted forests. We will get back to cryptids from around the U.S. because there's a lot. We only did a couple. We got cryptids, we got aliens, they're coming. But Bigfoot and Sasquatch sightings, the Pacific Northwest is famous for its numerous reports of Bigfoot and Sasquatch sightings. People claim to have encountered a large, hairy, ape-like creature in the dense forests of the region. While there is no conclusive scientific evidence to support the existence of Bigfoot, these sightings have fueled legends and speculation for decades.
Bigfoot's probably the other reason why people disappear.
Yeah, he's got to eat them, you know? Oh, that's dope.
That's a cool Bigfoot.
That's a cool Bigfoot head.
Have you heard the one theory?
Let's hear it.
We probably did when we did the episodes.
I don't remember if we covered this, but reason why people go disappearing: 1, for food, and 2, for breeding.
What was it, Ace Ventura?
Got to make them.
Gotta make the new generation of Sasquatch.
Yeah,
Sasquatch human hybrids. Well, I thank you for calling in and letting us know about your theory about Sasquatch human hybrids. Can you tell us what else you've seen there on your friend's ranch in Southern Oregon, Chuck? Sorry, I was channeling my inner coast to coast radio for a minute.
Love it.
Speaking of anal probing.
Wow, that's your segue into aliens and UFO sightings? I love it. UFO sightings at Mount Rainier. In 1947, a pilot named Kenneth Arnold reported seeing a group of unidentified flying objects while flying near Mount Rainier, Washington. This event, often considered the beginning of the modern UFO era, sparked a wave of UFO sightings across the country. Mount Rainier and its surrounding forests have since become associated with UFO and extraterrestrial encounters. I've actually heard the transcript of this dude's account of seeing the UFO around Mount Rainier. I will try to dig it up for when we do our UFO focused episodes, but it's pretty crazy.
So we just had 4th of July, right? Not to date us on this specifically, but we just celebrated 4th of July. And my daughter, she's still young, okay? And I told her, I was like, hey, you want to watch why we celebrate the 4th? Do you want to watch a movie about why we celebrate the 4th of July?
Yes, you showed her Independence Day, didn't you?
I absolutely did. And I was like, hey, this is based on a true story.
No way.
And dude, literally, we got through maybe a quarter of the way of the movie before
and she called you a liar.
She looked at me and she's like, Are you fucking serious? And I'm
you know what's really great is that your kid is young enough that if you had sold that right, it would have fucking worked. Because it happened in doesn't Independence Day take place in 1997 or some shit?
Yeah.
Oh, dude. With your younger kid, we could do that again.
We rebuilt.
We could actually make that work
because all of us can be in on it.
We could all be in on it, and I'd be like, dude, I was there
when the aliens attacked.
I was there in LA when all this happens.
Dude, welcome to Earth. Wow.
Chuck, you got to get a tattoo. a tattoo of that date somewhere, just like on your arm somewhere.
Oh,
just
yeah.
to spell it.
God.
Just
Yeah,
be
we
like,
made
I
it.
was there, the Battle of Nevada, whatever, fucking 1999.
The Battle of Nevada.
I fueled. Where was the final? Because weren't they at that like sketchy base in Nevada?
Yeah,
Yeah, they were at Area 51.
Yeah, they went to Area 51.
yeah.
Yeah, so the Battle of Area 51. 1999 Battle of Area 51. I was the guy who fueled up Jimmy's airplane before he rammed it up that motherfucker's bow.
Back in the olden days.
This happened back before the scientist who is now the actor who plays Data on Star Trek was an actor. You got to remember, son, when they made this movie, none of these people were actors.
We could show the clips of the Area 51 raid where the dude's ninja running across Area 51.
Oh God, dude, the Naruto run.
Yeah,
love it.
Have you seen the footage of the soldier having to explain what a Naruto run is to like the Joint Chiefs of Staff? It
was fucking hilarious.
Fucking hysterical.
Because of course somebody brought it up there, like because one of the Joint Chiefs eventually heard that they were planning on Naruto running. And so, of course, the Joint Chiefs, not understanding the internet because they're a bunch of ancient potato windbags, are like, what is Naruto running?
What is this concept?
What is this? And so they asked their younger generation of staff to then explain it, like to brief them on what it is that the millennials are planning on doing to Area 51 and what is a Naruto.
It's like watching the I don't know if you can find it anymore, but
it's so funny.
The Senate Joint Committee grilling the dude that owns TikTok.
Yeah, it's just as bad as that.
And the guy's like, the senator is like, and what exactly is an email? And then like there's a pause and he's like, and can I use a fax machine to log into the TikToks? And can the Chinese get my faxes from the TikToks with my email and fax machine? And you're just like, how fucking disconnected are you from anything technological?
Enough,
like what the fuck? Did you just bring up email and fax machine? Like what year do you think? Do you think it's squarely 1984 right now, brother? Like, come on.
Year 2K never progressed in their mind. It's still 1999.
It's because of the vortex he stepped into.
But there was one part before we move on. Sorry, Chuck. That was a good
Chuck
segue.
had an amazing segue. Son of a bitch.
So there's one part in the movie where they interview the guys that of the crop duster, and they're like, "Yeah, he was abducted by aliens and was sexually abused." And I was like, "Oh fuck!" And my daughter looked at me and she's like, "What do they mean?" And I was like, "So there's this."
So back when that joke would have been okay to people your daughter's age, like when that movie came out, like that was a joke that just universally was understood. Now.
Yeah,
that's also back when you used to take your temperature that way too.
Yeah, so I told her, I was like, you're. So there's this ongoing joke about aliens and anal probing.
Oh, she doesn't know the
and
anal
how
probing?
they want your butthole.
And dude, for the rest of the movie, she was just like, "He got anal probed." I'm like, "Stop, don't say that ever again. Like, don't like."
What you're saying is I'm going to have to ask her.
Didn't you buy her Dark Eldar?
Yeah, right. Now I can tell her, like, that's what your Dark Eldar.
Now I can ask her what she learned from the
100%.
historical documentary that she watched.
Yep, and she will tell you.
Ask her why the Xenos need to die.
And I was just like, all right, stop. That was like, I was just explaining the idea of it, all right? That's it. It's just a joke with aliens. Don't take it any further.
This doesn't leave the room.
Yeah. So this vortex
of hell that you stepped into.
Dear Mankai, if you didn't want to be tortured, why do you have a nervous system?
I thought you were going to say, why do you have an asshole? I was like, oh, God.
That's not torture.
It depends on who you are. The Oregon Vortex, located in Golden Hill, Oregon. The Oregon Vortex is a mysterious area where the laws of physics seem to behave strangely. It is believed to be a gravitational anomaly that distorts the perception of height and width, causing optical illusions. Visitors to the area have reported experiencing strange sensations and witnessing objects roll uphill. The Oregon Vortex has become a popular tourist attraction known for its paranormal properties. This is another thing that's pretty big. There's a mystery spot or a vortex or something in most states. Some of them have several.
So it's like a land Bermuda Triangle?
Yeah, pretty much. Actually, yeah.
Isn't there something like that on Skinwalker Ranch?
Yeah,
but
and then there's the San Clemente.
Yeah,
it's San Clemente, but the San Isidro mystery spot or San Clemente mystery spot.
Oh, where things roll uphill.
Yeah, yep. And then there's one in San Francisco. Yeah, these things happen a lot. This phenomenon is reported a lot. Whether or not it's real, who knows?
Who was that guy from Deadpool? I think was it Bedlam? Can distort electrical fields even in your brain.
That's fun.
That's not fair.
It's like the sick stick from Kick-Ass.
Oh, dude, that's such a great weapon.
You're gonna talk about Loki.
I'm gonna talk about Loki, huh? Is that one of the theories?
Well, you haven't. Oh, well, it was on the show.
Was it on the first season?
Yeah. Where I think he loses a bet to Thor and Odin, and he had to go to Earth and go do something, and this is what he does.
I'm gonna have to rewatch the first season here because I don't remember that. All right, so next up we have the vanishing of D.B. Cooper. In 1971, a man known as D.B. Cooper hijacked a Boeing 727 aircraft over Washington state, demanded a ransom, and then parachuted into the forest below. Despite an extensive search, Cooper has never been found, and the case remains unsolved to this day. The forests of the Pacific Northwest became the backdrop for this mysterious disappearance, capturing the public's imagination and giving rise to various theories and legends about what happened to D.B. Cooper. And D.B. Cooper is just the type of story that probably deserves its own focused Lorus Obscurus.
I was going to say, I've never heard of this. I've heard the name, but I've never heard of this.
This is a very, very popular piece of Americana history.
So fascinating. Basically, picture somebody that year gets on a plane, has his money, jumps out the plane, never to be seen again. There's so many.
Yeah, and it was like $50,000 or $75,000, which doesn't sound like a lot now, but it was the equivalent, spending in today's money of like 2.5 million or something.
Yeah, and it's like one of the shows I've watched on it, one of the shows I like to watch, they did this, and it's like he went with, I think, 3 of the main theories that could have happened, and all of them end up with they were hallucinating. The guy's real and actually just fucking disappeared and had what so well planned out. He had people on the ground waiting for him. And it's 1971, so think about it. It's not the same technology we have now.
Not even close.
Just change your name and whole new social security card, and
damn,
you're gone.
And at this point, he's probably not even alive anymore. So
he'd be in between the 70s and 90s.
Oh, I was also alive, thinking it being the 70s and him getting that much money and hanging out with some shady people afterwards. He probably just did cocaine and died.
I was going to say that's a lot of cocaine.
That's a get you killed amount of cocaine.
He went to Las Vegas and got lost.
100%.
Can you OD on cocaine?
Absolutely.
You can OD on everything. You take enough of anything, you can OD on water.
That's true. It's hard to OD on water because you run out of space.
Yeah, you can drown yourself.
Is it?
Unless you're trying to win a Switch for your kid. It happened in Southern California 5 years ago.
I remember.
What was it? Chug a gallon of water and
some mom died of water toxicity.
Drowning.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah,
that blows my mind.
Trying to win a Switch.
Well,
on one of the famous radio stations.
My kidney condition, because of my kidney condition, I drink an obscene amount of water. I can drink a half gallon casually. Just that's what I drink before we start the podcast, and then I'll go refill it again before we're done.
I've given myself water toxicity to the place where I'll vomit, where I have vomited pure water.
Yes, I've gotten to that point before, and it's not very fun. But
your
body just rejects it, at that point.
Your body tells you it's coming, but I guess if you push through that, you can get water toxicity and die, which is insane.
Which crazy. Reminds me it's kind of like, can you overdose on marijuana? And it's like, yes, but you'd have to like replace your bloodstream with it, and smoke that much would basically render you unconscious before you got there.
Yeah, but it would take so
take so many fails that like, it wouldn't work. Like you by the time
it just reminds me of Scarface.
I think you can because its potency per like square inch is a lot higher.
Yeah, because like thinking about Scarface, like that dude was just sticking his face in a mound of cocaine.
Right.
Well, and you build up a tolerance.
True. You do build up a tolerance.
One of the things that often happens, and like unfortunately in a lot of OD cases, is people will get like clean for whatever reason, and then
their
they'll
tolerance
decide
goes down, and then they go back to it, and they're like, "Let me take this fat rip."
Yeah, they'll be like, "I'm going to take one last trip for good old time's sake," and then they'll do what they were doing at the height of their use, and it's too much, and they'll die.
So what you're saying is they're trying to see the lights?
They're trying to see the lights. The mysterious lights of Marfa, Oregon. Marfa is a small town in Oregon known for its unexplained phenomenon known as the Marfa lights. Witnesses have reported seeing bright, floating orbs of light in the night sky and near the forest surrounding the area. The lights have been a subject of much speculation, with theories ranging from UFOs to natural gas to ghosts. The Marfa lights continue to intrigue locals and visitors alike. There is a similar phenomenon in Arizona, which in a lot of these light cases, they're able to like, it's hot, desert conditions, nighttime, you're seeing a mirage of the local highway, but who knows? How long has it been there?
Interesting. I don't know. The light stuff doesn't really spook me. Like, I feel like a lot of it can just be hand waved away by, random light.
Really?
That's how I feel, at least.
Really? When you're in the middle of the pitch black forest and all of a sudden there's just a light and there's no nothing.
Like, what kind of light we talking about? Like eyes?
In the distance you see...
Or like, we're talking about like a flicker of light? Like firelight?
Just like the last photo that Ryan had for $3, $6, or $9 up on the screen. Yeah, you see that little bit of light and it looks like a flashlight, but it's not a flashlight. It's kind of bobbing around and you're all out there by yourself.
Yeah, maybe it's like an owl's eyes or something.
No.
I don't know.
It's a UFO, bro. It's coming to get you.
Or it's Sasquatch running around with a flashlight.
It's mad about how Will Smith punched it in the face. It's gonna come get you. Before he was an actor. Will Smith, the fighter pilot, before he was an actor.
Before he was an actor.
But after he was a cowboy.
Sam Squatch with the mag light is
U.S. Marshal, not cowboy.
That's right, U.S. Marshal. Wow, West.
And before he
how
was
many movies are we going to say are real?
Biologist.
Man, we are just putting on... These are all real movies?
All
documentaries? Let's see how many I can get away with.
Yeah, Will Smith is just the
interchangeable man.
What was the California Gold guy? The documentary guy.
That guy.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yep,
what I'm talking about.
California's
He's that
Gold.
guy, but the action movie version.
Nice.
I was like, one of you guys is old enough to know that the documentaries I'm talking about.
So we had a Patreon member send us a Spooky Dookie. For those of you who are listening, whether or not you listen to us or whether or not you're a Patreon with us, if you would like to get into contact with us somehow, you can submit your own spooky tales, and we will potentially include them in an episode of Lorus Obscurus. And Semi has sent us a couple of different tales. I want to say this is maybe the third or fourth spooky tale that he sent us, so thank you very much. We love getting them. By the way, as we mentioned at least once, not twice, Patreon, $3, $6, or $9. You get some extra benefits.
Sex. He's talking about sex.
I am not talking about sex. That is not what I'm talking about. What? That's in a movie right now. Like what character's like sex? He's talking about sex, and the other one's like, that is the farthest thing from what I'm talking about.
I didn't get it from that. It's just how my head works. But yes.
Maybe it's the movie that stars you and I.
For $3, $6, or $9, Ryan draws sexual characters.
No, I do not. I do not have
40K
time.
models.
I do not have time. Do not. That is false advertising, listeners.
If you join our Patreon for the sexual caricatures that Ryan draws, go ahead and join our Patreon and say, Ryan, draw me sexy, or draw me like one of your French girls, and he will have to start drawing.
It'll be it's like the new rule set in 10th edition, where it's like lethal hits and brackets. It's sexy and brackets followed by whatever the X is of what you want.
No, so this is what's going to happen. This is what you get for making promises like this, Marky.
Oh,
you get pictures of whatever Legion Space Marines you have, where I have hastily and badly photoshopped boobs to the outside of the armor. Okay?
I think they'll be okay.
That's
with
what you get.
I'd be okay with that. Can I get a death watch of that, Ryan? I'm going to join the Patreon.
Why is this happening? Do not stop. Stop making art commitments for me. I don't have time for.
This got derailed quick. I love it.
Yeah, I'm gonna join the Patreon. I'm gonna say, draw me like one of your French girls, and then in parentheses, I'm gonna put Death Watch.
I hate you. Do not make me do more artwork. I hate you. All right. So, Semi's story. This happened to a cousin of mine. She said this would be around the time she was still in her skeptical phase. And that was before she embraced the truth of the Spooky Dookies. He wrote that. I didn't write that. He wrote that.
Nice.
It happened on a weekend night as she was getting ready for a night out downtown with friends. She had the upstairs area of her family home to herself. This was a large rectangular room with a set of stairs that came up from the floor below. These stairs were in the lower left-hand corner of the room as you entered. This open landing acted as a little hangout area with an actual room that was along its far side, opposite where the stairs came up. There was a small couch and TV toward the front, a little desk about halfway along the right side of the room, opposite where the stairs were, and a mirror that was in line with the top of the stairs, but on the other side, basically. So if you kind of picture, I think if you kind of picture a box, there's a set of stairs at the bottom, then there's the TV and everything right above it, there's a desk, and then there's the mirror and whatever bedroom it is, and then the top of the steps are basically in line, can be seen from the mirror the entire time. At this point, she took a minute to remind me that she has 2 younger brothers that would always play pranks on her and basically try to get jump scares on her. That's just some context that lays into how her thought process played out during this entire event. That night, she sat facing the mirror to apply her makeup. A single light, which shined almost like a spotlight down around her and where she was sitting, cast the rest of the room behind her into deep, dark shadows. While working on her makeup, she saw the reflection of a dark, shadowy figure slowly coming up the stairs behind her. This figure was crawling cautiously, as if trying to sneak up on her. Of course, she immediately assumed it was one of her brothers and quickly turned around to try to catch a glimpse of them. But the shadow just disappeared back down the stairs as soon as she looked. She took a moment to stare into the darkness before returning to her makeup. Just as soon as she did so, the shadow popped back up and started to crawl into the room again from the staircase. This time, even though she saw it, she let it creep into the room more so that it would be on all fours, but in the room now, not on the staircase. Again, assuming it was one of her brothers, she quickly whipped around and actually started dashing a little bit in an attempt to catch one of them. But again, it disappeared back down into the darkness of the stairs where the light could not be seen. Thinking to herself, how did they move so fast? She then thought, next time I'll wait until they get closer so I can really catch them this time. And that's what she did. She went back to pretending to apply her makeup just like before. Not long after, the dark figure came crawling back, but this time she let it come further into the room, waited for it to be about a quarter of the way into the room. Then she immediately turned around and ran after the shadow, but the shadow quickly bolted back into the dark stairs before she could catch it. From here, she really started to question herself again at how her brothers got so fast. But she said to herself, I got one last chance, I'll get him this time. Back to her spot in front of the mirror to try and catch it again, this time watching the shadow move across the room where it came up to and then moved to hide underneath the desk. Once she saw the figure sit down and plant itself under the desk, she sprang up, knowing this time there was no way for it to get away and she could catch it. However, when she turned around, the shadow just disappeared from under the desk. She didn't see it run down the stairs at all, but it vanished from under her tiny desk, and that's when it hit her. This wasn't one of her brothers. This freaked her out and she started to panic, running into her room and locking the door behind her. Then she threw herself onto the bed and sat down facing the door until the sun rose the next morning. Once the sun had came up, she could hear her family rustling around downstairs. She quickly ran down to check up on them and told them about what had happened. Her siblings did the "I told you so, now you believe us" routine, as they had seen plenty of spooky dookies already with something familiar like that shadow creature in and around the house. Although the parents just kind of always brushed it off, saying, "It's nothing, don't think about it too much," which usually translates to "stop talking about it because we low-key are freaked out too, but we don't want to acknowledge it." I have to say that's a freaky tale. It's a freaky tale, Semi.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah, I don't like the fact they got
freaky
to the
tale,
desk.
Sammy.
Yeah.
Right? And like she baited it.
That reminds me of the Shadow
creepy.
Leprechaun story.
Yep.
This also reminds me of I think it was one of the Conjuring movies. Or it was Annabelle.
It may have, or wasn't it one of the Insidious? Well, they are all the same.
It could have been that too. I think
they're
it was
good, but they're all kind of the same.
Yeah, one of the Annabelle ones. It's like the kid is shooting a ball or something, if I recall correctly. He's shooting a ball into a dark hallway. So essentially where the door frame is essentially just a dark plane, right? So you can't see past the door frame. And he'd shoot the ball into the hallway and it would get thrown back to him. And
that was the second Conjuring, wasn't it?
It was one of them.
Wasn't it the Conjuring that was in
That's
Europe?
creepy, just in general.
Yeah, and he freaked out, and he has bunk beds, and he ran up and jumped into the top bunk bed, and he could hear something like running down, or what freaked him out wasn't the ball. I think he heard footsteps running towards him from the darkness, and he got freaked out, ran to his bed, jumped in, and the footsteps stopped. And then after they stopped and he was kind of in his bed and calmed down, he heard the footsteps run into his room and get into the bunk bed below him.
Oh, it's
oh, that's creepy.
That's with the Annabelle doll.
I believe it's Annabelle, right?
Yeah, when they go when the house becomes like the like an orphanage.
Yeah, I believe that's the one. And the kid has like I think the kid was disabled. I think he had like braces on his legs or something. It was something along those lines. But yeah, it was very much reminded me of that. I don't like it, Semi. Thank you. I had goosebumps for like 3/4 of that story.
Yeah, I'm not okay. Creepy. Why did you bring this up? Well, anybody have any other creepy tales or dark happenings in forests? Anything like that?
I believe I shared them before with the one in my tent.
Yep. Okay.
Is there any other ones?
Did I share the dog man story yet?
Possibly.
I saw it when it was super heavily snowing one day, and I went to go find it. Is any of this ringing bell?
This was current, right?
Yeah, this happened. This happened last winter.
Since you moved, yeah.
I do recall this one.
I have told this one. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That one.
Well, never mind. I won't tell everybody again.
You could check out one of our old Lorus Obscurus episodes and hear our Spooky Dookies.
Yeah. We bring them up as we recall them. I definitely spent a lot of time in the Pacific Northwest hiking and camping when I was younger because I grew up in Washington State. I want to say there's a handful of stories. So I had this half-remembered story, and we were in these like A-frame cabins. It was a Boy Scout hiking trip. We were up in the mountains in Washington, up near Crystal Mountain, up near Stevens Pass area, if anybody is familiar with that area. And there are these lean-to cabins, so they're like A-frames. They're basically like A's. They look like teepees, but instead of being circular, they're like long cabins essentially. And we were staying in these cabins, and there was ours, and then catty corner to us was like the adults' cabin. And I think we had like one chaperone, one adult. We had one of the older kids, one of the kids' older sisters and like her husband or her fiance or something was staying in our cabin, and then all the other like adults were in the other one. And we had done the pretty stereotypical, normal, like campfire ghost stories and all that stuff, and had tried to kind of freak each other out all night. And the two things that stand out about this night are the first one. This is the first time I had ever kind of like come up against weirder thinking. I went to a public school that was really well known for its science department in like grade school and middle school. And this was like towards the end of middle school in Washington State. I wasn't quite. Washington State's middle school is different. 9th grade is part of middle school, and then high school is 10th, 11th, and 12th only. And this is kind of towards the end of that. But one of the kids' parents were either Jehovah's Witnesses or something along those lines. And this is the first time I had ever heard the theory that dinosaur bones were planted by Satan to make humans think that dinosaurs existed. Like it was a plot. And that was weird because I had never heard anything like that before. But of course, like as we're talking about all this weird shit, including Satan burying dinosaur bones, yada, 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 all the power to both cabins goes out. And when the power goes out in a place like that, there aren't street lights. There isn't another grid. There aren't cars on the road. You are in, and if there's no moon, and I'm pretty sure there was no moon or very little moon, or the moon was behind the clouds, something along those rounds, there's no light. There's the snow that makes everything. You'd think that since it's white and it's reflective, doesn't matter, cloud cover, you can't fucking see shit. It is dark and like a weird murky blue darkness is the only way I can kind of describe it. It's very strange. It's very surreal. It's very
winter dark is different.
It's very serene in a way. Like if you're prepared for it, if you put yourself in that, it's very nice and serene. When it happens, it's not. So, of course, the adults come into the room and are trying to get us all to not be crazy people. We didn't necessarily. It's a group of boys, so we didn't start screaming our heads off and running around being scared that monsters were going to get us.
We started beating on each other.
Yeah, we started beating on each other and running around and screaming that monsters were going to get us. So it wasn't a fear response that monsters were going to get us. It was an excited response that monsters were going to get us, of course.
You're like, oh, we were talking spooky shit and the lights went out. There's definitely spooky shit. We're all going to die. Oh,
boys, we did it.
We summoned the spooky shit.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Is that not the response you would normally expect, but
it's the response you get from a bunch of boys who don't understand their own mortality.
Yeah, exactly. So the adults come out. This gal and her husband or her fiance or whatever he was come out, and they calm us down and everything. And about 15-20 minutes goes by, and it gets to the point where, you know, we've got a couple of lanterns on, and we've got one of the little propane like heaters going, and I think one of us lit the fire because, you know, everything's out, heats out, everything's out. We filled up water. We did all the stuff that scouts are supposed to do. We filled up all the little receptacles with water, yada yada yada. We've got all that stuff going around, and enough time had passed that it didn't matter. The cabin was starting to get really, really cold. You know, we're wearing jackets, we're wearing gloves, we're around fires. It's probably as cold inside the cabin as it is outside. These cabins are not necessarily like the type of things that are, if you've ever been to this type of like hiking, skiing, that they are a suggestion against the wind. They are not a protection from the elements style thing. And the decision was made that we would go and contact, like get the adults from the other cabin. And it was only 4 adults in the other cabin. And it was 2 couples. It was the scoutmaster and his wife, and then like one of the other kids and his dad and his mom. So we decide, you know, we're going to go because, you know, we can't let the, you know, 18, 19-year-old girl or 20-year-old girl go. And, you know, we had to show up her fiance. So, of course, he went with us. So, like 3 or 4 of us go, and we go to the other cabin, and the other cabin's door is open, is unlocked. It's not like open, but it's unlocked. No lanterns are on, no fire is going, and there is no one in it. So now it's 15 children with 2 20-something-year-old adults in the middle of fucking nowhere. And immediately that's when everybody actively freaks out. The adults are gone. power is out and the adults are gone and their cabin was unlocked. And of course that immediately
Just like
turned
a horror
into
movie.
Yeah, that immediately turned into the doors were open, of course. So we go out into the parking lot and the cars are gone. And now
That's even better.
And now we are delirious with excitement/fear. This goes on for probably another like 3 or 4 minutes before the scoutmaster and his buddy come walking around from the backside of our cabin laughing because they moved the cars and turned the power off at the light pole to the cabins to fuck with us. But it got us. It got us like that. That like nice pregnant 5 minutes of like, wait, what's going on? Why can't we find an actual adult?
It was a prank. Or
it was a prank.
Or it was a cover.
Or yeah, that's true. It could have been
Scoutmaster and his wife.
Scoutmaster and his wife. They were definitely
just pranking you. Sorry, you caught us.
Whoops.
You guys all know what a snipe hunt is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So snipe hunting was a big thing. I learned
about it on Cheers.
Oh, okay. So snipe hunting was a big prank that all the Boy Scouts pulled, usually on the new scout. I got pulled on me when I was a new scout. I went looking for this magical bird.
Next weekend, Marky, if you want.
Do you not know what snipe hunting is, Marky?
You never been snipe hunting?
I was afraid to say that I've never heard of it.
So depending on where you are, a snipe is always kind of described as a small flightless bird with a long beak. Think like a kiwi mixed with a sandpiper.
Kind of like a roadrunner also.
Yeah, kind of like a roadrunner, right? Like it's one of these birds. And they're really fast and you'll only catch them out of the glimpse of your eye. But there's always rules for how to sneak up and catch them. And you basically tell the first person, the person on the first camping trip or the new scout or whoever you're getting about the snipe. And then you send them off to you build it up, no one can catch one, but if anybody can catch one, you can. However you need to, you build them up and then you send them off. Right. And then they're gone for hours. And then they come back and they let you know that they haven't been able to find a snipe. And at that point, most of you who have convinced them to go look for one have forgotten that you convinced them to go look for one. So when they come back and tell you about it, there's a barrel of laughs. That's a snipe hunt, essentially.
Okay, so
it's you drive out to the forest with your friend and you tell them this.
Yeah.
The marine version is the light bulb repair kit.
I was going to say the headlight fluid.
That's headlight fluid. Hey, go down to motor pool and give me the whatever the fuck. Yeah, it's that.
Give me the keys to the Humvee.
Muffler bearings.
But minus the other dude at the other end of the thing telling you you're a dumbass. Because that's what happens in those versions, is you get down there and you ask for the thing and the other dude just laughs at you.
Yeah. Go ask the first sergeant where the ID-10T form is.
Right. Yeah.
The U-bolt, or you gotta go get the U-bolt straightener.
The U-bolt straightener.
Yep. The saddle plate connector.
I didn't realize how politically charged that cartoon was. I just thought it was funny because it had to do with snipes, and then I read everything, and I'm like, never mind. Moving on to a different picture.
So I got a spooky one for in the forest. So a few years, real quick, a few years back, 3 buddies of mine from high school, we all went camping. It was just like a guy's trip, and we're at a campground, and we're up just south of Mammoth, and it's like freezing cold out. Well, allegedly. Allegedly. So, earlier, the first spooky thing earlier in the day was, they got like the docents that like run the campgrounds and all that. People that stay up there for like the winter.
Yeah.
We asked her what was up with the poop footprints on the ceiling and the restroom everybody was using, and she was kind of freaked out about that too. So later that night, we're all drinking, we're all hanging out. 2 of the guys go to bed, and before they went to bed, our one buddy, he'd gone to Bass Pros. He likes to hunt and do all that fun stuff, so he bought a turkey call. So all afternoon, he's what's a turkey call? We were joking, some weird thing's going to show up in the middle of the night looking for that turkey. Well, 2 of the guys go to sleep. Me and the other guy were still up talking. Campfire's going. We're sitting around the campfire, like next to each other, looking at the fire while we're talking. And moment of silence comes. You know, it's cold out.
Whoa. Nice cock.
No, that happened in our youth. And
wow.
So we're sitting there.
I just have to point out for your story, everybody poops, including ghosts, okay?
On the ceiling. So we're sitting there, and it's like a pause in conversation, and all of a sudden I hear, "Holy fuck, Chuck, turn around." Well, in between us was a coyote. Like about how far you and I are apart, Marky. Coyote's head right next to my shoulder.
Damn.
That's my spooky story for the forest. And when I turned around and went, "What the fuck?" The coyote didn't run. It just kind of looked at me.
I have a story kind of like that.
Huh?
You're a big turkey.
Yeah.
That's a funny looking turkey.
Just
you lick his chops.
Sauntered away. I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like, he literally walked up in between us.
The coyote's just like,
coyotes
what a
are
fucking
creepy.
What
ripoff, dude.
a
I'm just
ripoff.
gonna
I mean,
say
like, you're
coyotes are
fat.
creepy.
You're fat and juicy, but you ain't no turkey.
I was camping one time up on Palomar Mountain, and we were out there, and I woke up. I don't remember what exactly woke me up, but it sounded like there was like a bunch of people going through our stuff, like our like cooking stuff out on the table, you know? And I'm like, what the fuck is that noise? Which was weird because there's like other people in the campsite, but like nobody directly next to us, but like a bunch of people had dogs and stuff. So I'm like, this is like strange, like, you know, what the fuck's going on? So I peeked my head out of the tent, and it's pitch black out there, you know, camping, dark time and stuff. And eventually my eyes start to focus enough, and I see all these little black blobs like moving about.
Raccoons.
And it turns out it's a whole fucking herd of raccoons. And so I look at them, and I'm like, oh shit, they figured out how to open our tubs and stuff and get in there. That's why it sounded like people were going through, because they had figured out how to like open the lids. So that's probably what I had heard, was the lids popping. And
they got them thumbs.
Yeah, they got them thumbs. And so I looked at it, and I was like, hey, fucker. Like, I literally called them fuckers. And they all turned around and looked at me.
All at the same time.
All at the same time. It was fucking synchronized.
And that's when you realize that even though you're bigger than each of them individually,
there's a whole bunch of them.
15 of them, and you are fucked.
They all looked at me, and I was like, yeah, you. And then they all just kind of went back to what they were doing, and
proceeded to dig through your shit.
And I was like, they don't even care. Like, they legit, they know that I'm here looking at them, and that I'm not going to do anything.
Because it's the guard player versus the knight.
Yeah.
The
Exactly.
knights,
what
the guard understand.
Stop all of us?
Yeah, the guard understand there's enough of us and we can shoot you to death. And the knight player's like, that's not worth the objective points.
Yeah.
Yep. So my next reaction was, oh, I know the camp, you know, the empty spot, and then the next spot over has a dog. And so I'm like, oh, here we go. Bah, woo, 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 woo. And that got the neighbor's dog going, and that got the next dog going. And then they all just kind of were like, oh, man, and just slowly walked away. like not even in a hurry.
Sauntered off.
They were just
slowly.
like, oh, that's disappointing. We'll come back tomorrow. like they didn't care. They so didn't care. Like, they know that we're in their element. It's like how sharks, like, if you go in the ocean, like, you are 100% at the victim of a shark.
Fuck the ocean.
100%. That is your fault.
All right, guys. Well, that wraps it up for this episode of Lorus Obscurus. Our next jaunt into the paranormal and spooky will take us into the Appalachian Mountains. Have a freaky forest or jungle story you want to share with the podcast, or an idea for an Ordo Obscurus report? Reach out to us by email at underthehivefmadness@gmail.com or jimdarkgaming@gmail.com.
Or join our community on Discord. Not only can you talk about lore, the hobby, tactics, Warhammer 40k, but you can also get involved with other topics like Age of Sigmar, Magic the Gathering, role-playing games, video games, and much more. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, or find us at www.underthehivefmadness.com. Help the podcast grow by liking and reviewing wherever you get your podcast fix. We are on Spotify, Apple, Google, and many more.
You can also support us on Patreon at www.patreon.com/Under the Hive of Madness. All Patreon members get access to video podcasts with minimal editing, so you can see our beautiful faces and hear all of my amazing blunders. All Patreon levels also get access to our quarterly painting contest. Plus, we have perks at higher levels, so we really encourage you to head on over and check that out. Frank's Rucka Truck, the roaming feast that brings flavor to these post-apocalyptic streets. Always looking to unlock bold new tastes? You can finally rejoice with Frank's new seared rat chimichurri fries. And while you're munching down, you can pick over his exclusive collection of hand cannons, just in case you need one or two while you eat. Overgrown mutant rats may not be the only unwholesome creature roaming this treacherous domain. Stay alert, keep your blades at the ready. We are the defiant denizens of the Rebel Voxwave 665.66 UHMA Chemrat Radio. Reminding all of you chemrats, hive mice, and some ghoulies to keep those dials fixed right here. Same ratty frequency for a dose of the same ratty-ass attitude. In the depths of the gloom, their presence concealed, await four-armed emperors, their horror unrevealed. Their tails like daggers, their claws which bite like ice. Shield those of innocence, or pay their dreadful price. Motherfucker.
Motherfucker.